You know, every week it feels like the AI world takes another giant leap forward. And this week is no different. From Meta breaking down language barriers with a system that understands 1,600 languages, to Moonshot creating a whole new way for developers to connect with AI models. Things are moving fast, and not just fast, also smart. Now, in this video, we are not just going to list updates because you can find headlines anywhere. What I want to do is break them down for you in a way that actually makes sense. Alright, so let's start with Moonshot AI. Then we will talk about Meta's update, okay? Now, if you have been following AI developments closely, you have probably heard about Kimi. That's Moonshot's AI assistant, kind of like ChatGPT but focused more on reasoning and tool-based tasks. And recently, they released Kimi CLI, which basically lets developers from the command line so they can automate stuff, test AI features, and integrate models to their own projects. But here is the interesting part. Behind Kimi CLI, there is a new system called Kosong. And this thing is what's really powering everything under the hood. Moonshot describes Kosong as an LLM abstraction layer. Now, that might sound technical, but let me break it down in a simple way. Think of Kosong as a universal connector for AI models. Normally, when developers work with different large language models like OpenAI, Anthropic, or Moonshot's own, each one comes with its own rules, APIs, and coding requirements. Managing all that can be headache. You have to write separate code for each one, handle updates, deal with compatibility issues. It's messy. What Kosong does is remove all that mess. It acts as a bridge between your application and any AI model you want to use. You can plug in different models, switch between them, or even run multiple ones together without rewriting your code again and again. If that sounds abstract, here is an easy analogy. Imagine you travel around the world and every country has a different type of power socket, right? You would need to carry a bunch of adapters, right? But Kosong is like a universal adapter for AI. You plug it in once and it just works, no matter which AI model you want to connect to. Now, let's talk about why this matters. So, as AI tools grow, developers aren't sticking to just one model anymore. For example, they might use OpenAI's GPT for text, Anthropic's Cloud for reasoning, and a local model for private data tasks. Without something like Kosong, managing that entire system becomes a nightmare. So what Moonshot has done here is basically created a layer that simplifies everything, from model switching to performance optimization. It's almost like giving developers a dashboard where they can manage multiple AIs without worrying about backend chaos. And the best part, this approach isn't just about convenience, it's about scalability. Because the truth is, the next 1 or 2 years, AI won't just mean one smart model. We're heading into a world where every company, every tool might run its own specialized AI system. And if you want to build something on top of that ecosystem, you will need a way to connect all those systems together efficiently, which is exactly what Kosong is preparing for. And while Moonshot is busy making AI tools smarter and more flexible for developers, another giant, Meta, is working on something equally impressive: teaching AI to understand every human language. Yep, we're talking about speech recognition for over 1,600 languages. Let's talk about that next. Alright, Meta's AI research team, FEAR, has introduced something called Omnilingual ASR. And trust me, this one is a big deal. It's the world's most multilingual speech recognition system. It can understand and transcribe spoken language in over 1,600 languages. Let's take a second to process that. 1,600 languages. To put that into perspective, most of the speech recognition tools we use today, like Siri, Alexa, or even YouTube's auto subtitles, support maybe a few dozen languages or at best 100. But there are over 7,000 languages spoken in the world, which means thousands of communities have been completely left out of the AI revolution. Now here is what Meta did differently. Usually, speech recognition systems need a huge amount of recorded audio data or trained properly. We are talking thousands of hours of transcribed speech per language. That's easy for English or Spanish because there is plenty of data available. But what about smaller languages, like the ones spoken in remote villages or among small communities? Those don't have that kind of data. That's why most AI systems just ignore them. Meta decided to fix that. Instead of relying only on big datasets, They trained Omnilingual ASR across many small languages at once. This means the model doesn't just memorize one or two big languages, it learns the structure of language itself. And that's what helps it adapt to others. Now here is where it gets even more impressive. 500 of these languages have never been covered by any AI system before. That's half a thousand languages getting AI recognition for the first time ever. Think about what that means. For the first time, millions of people who have never been able to use voice assistants, AI translators, or even automatic subtitles in their native tongue will actually be understood by AI. That's not just a tech update, that's digital inclusion on a whole new level. But Meta didn't stop there. They added something extremely clever called Bring Your Own Language. This feature uses a method called context learning. Don't worry, I will explain it simply. Basically, it means you can teach the system a new language or dialect just by showing it a few prior examples, like some audio clips and their matching text. No need to retain the entire model or use expensive GPU servers. It learns directly from those examples. And this is not just about adding a few more languages. This approach could, in theory, expand the system to support over 5,000 languages. That's huge because for the first time, speech recognition is moving beyond the big global languages and reaching local, cultural, and even endangered ones. Now let's talk a bit about performance. Meta says the model keeps a character error rate below 10% for 78% of the languages tested, which basically means the accuracy is quite strong, even for smaller datasets. For languages that had at least 10 hours of training audio, 95% of them hit that same mark or better. That's solid performance by any standard. And because Meta wants this to be open and collaborative, they have released the entire project as open source under the Apache 2.0 license, which means researchers, developers, and even startups can use it freely, modify it, and build their own tools around it. They have also released a huge dataset of transcribed speech covering 350 underrepresented languages under a CC BY license. So this isn't just a research paper, this is a fully usable system that anyone can build on. Now here is a quick tip that I want to give you. If you ever wanted to work on something impactful in AI but felt you didn't have access to massive GPUs or global datasets, this is your moment. Start experimenting with open source systems like Omnilingual ASR. The community around it is going to grow fast and you can be part of shaping how multilingual AI evolves in the next few years. Alright, that's it for today's AI update. If you found this video helpful or you learned something new, do hit that like button, it really helps, and share it with your tech friends so they can stay in the loop too. Also, tell me in the comments which of these updates do you think will have the biggest impact. I would love to hear your take on it.